Criticism from unwanted sources is part of learning how to write. It's part of the game. Whether it be a book that you've spent months or even years working on, or even a video that you put out into the world. The second you put something out into the world, it will be criticized, and sometimes that criticism is going to be public. As a writer, not everything you write is going to be for every person. Some people are going to absolutely despise the things you love and the things you think are cool. Go look at the 1-star reviews for your favorite book, and hopefully that will help you realize that you can't please everybody. This realization will help with the hurt you feel when criticized. And it will hurt. When people say, you need to cut this scene, that's really, sometimes it's pretty hard to internalize, it's pretty rough. And you wonder why they didn't like it as much as you enjoyed writing it. This hurt is characteristic of a deep-seated threat response, a survival instinct. When your work is criticized, your body reacts before your mind with a dumping of adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. These hormones are the same hormones that are dumped into your bloodstream, or that would be dumped into your bloodstream if you were attacked by a bear. Your body literally views criticism of your work as a personal attack. This response leads to all kinds of defense mechanisms, none of which will help you become a better writer. And that's the goal. The writers who can sift through criticism and weigh each piece based on its merits will be far more successful at learning and getting better. Your body dumping hormones into your bloodstream makes it incredibly hard to weigh criticism in an objective manner. The best way to get past this is to not respond immediately. Give it a day and sleep on it. This will help you clear your head and decide if there actually is merit to the criticism. Once the emotional sting has worn off, you'll probably find that the harsh words aren't quite as bad as you thought they were. With that said, I get it though. The impulse to defend your work like it's a masterpiece is strong, and I think there are a few reasons for that. First is the amount of time you put into your writing. Time is incredibly finite. And the older we get, the more obvious that fact becomes. Because of time's finite nature, it's hard to hear any criticism of something you've spent so much time doing. Even if that criticism is good-natured and designed to actually help you make your story better, it's really hard to hear. With the time and effort you put into your work comes that soul that you dump into it as well. As you write, you dump little bits of yourself into your story. Your characters become part of you as you merge your own experiences with the characters you write. Your world becomes an extension of what you think is cool. Your prose becomes how effectively you can communicate with your readers. These parts of you that are poured into your work make it hard to separate your work from yourself. It's no wonder that our bodies view criticism as a personal attack when you think about it like that. So how do we fight our body's natural response to criticism? Discernment is very important when it comes to criticism. As is the case with everything, not all criticism is created equal. Some criticism isn't actually criticism at all, but rather a battering ram wielded by those who wish they could do what you're doing or what you've done. This criticism shouldn't be heeded, but should remain in the ether, never to be thought of by you again. Often, it's easy to see when hurtful words are being disguised as criticism, but it's just as often hard to see when harsh words are valid criticism. Learning to discern words designed for malice and hurtful but yet valid criticism is the first step to better your writing through criticism. It's undeniable that those who can discern valid criticisms, especially when hurtful, and then implement changes will become better writers. Let's say you write a scene and you love everything about it. The tension, the scene objectives, and your character growth are exactly what you wanted. Then let's say you have a reader who tells you that the scene left them longing for connection with the character. This is valid criticism, but it would also be valid if the reader had couched their criticism harshly by first saying, "This scene sucked because the main character came off flat and whiny." Even though the second criticism is harsh, it will be better if you step back and analyze your scene objectively. If the reader is right, then you can make your character deeper or provide a better reason for their emotional response. It's important to note that readers are often great at identifying a problem, but aren't very good at articulating a solution. Readers experiencing your story may put their finger on a particular scene and say, "It's boring," or that this is where they lost interest. They've identified the problem correctly because they experienced your story firsthand. They know when they lost interest. But with this knowledge of when they lost interest may come a suggestion to add some action, like a sword fight or something. They think this will solve the problem, but in reality, they may have lost interest for a whole slew of reasons. It could be that your character lacks clear goals, or that your character goals don't line up with their motivations. Great writers learn to separate the problem from the solution. I'm not sure I can tell you what your measuring stick for constructive criticism should be, but I can tell you what it shouldn't be. Whether or not the criticism hurts your feelings shouldn't be taken into account, because constructive criticism will hurt your feelings. Perhaps just as often as malicious words designed to hurt are valid criticism left by the wayside due to hurt feelings. This is why objectivity and weight of criticism is so important. It's important to realize that some pieces of criticism may be true, but you shouldn't pay attention to them because they aren't impactful or make your story better. This is especially true if the criticism doesn't have anything actionable to go along with it. For instance, someone could criticize your character's name by saying there was someone in their second grade class with that same name and they hated that person. Or they may criticize the fact that your title has too many syllables. Such critique doesn't matter and should be ignored completely, in my opinion. A common mistake that writers make is equating criticism with rejection. It's easy to feel like the critic thinks you're boring when it's actually your character that's boring. It's easy to feel that someone's calling you unintelligent when they say your dialogue feels stilted and unnatural. In reality, these criticisms don't reflect on your intelligence. They aren't a reflection of your character. They certainly aren't a reflection of your self-worth as a person. Writing is a skill that's totally separate from your self-worth as a person. When people criticize your work, they are identifying weaknesses in your story in an effort to help you better your writing skills. They aren't trying to attack you. Writers who successfully cope with and even gain from criticism of others have a couple of common qualities. First, they divorce themselves from their work. They realize that poor writing isn't reflective of them as a person. This is hard to do because of the things I talked about earlier. The body's response and the heart and soul you pour into your work. You have to remember that being a good person has nothing to do with how well you write. And as a general rule, when people say harsh things about your work, they aren't saying anything about you as a person. Writers who can divorce their self-worth from the words that they produce are not only in a better position to weigh each piece of criticism independently and objectively, but to also act upon the criticism if they find that it has merit. This makes them better writers. Be a better writer.